Welcome to one of the best podcasts on the planet. It's Still Scrolling with your favorite people. It's me, Justin.
Me, Derek.
Me,
and
Stefania.
me, Stefania. Oh, wait, sorry, no. Sorry.
Wait, I'm Justin.
Yes, you're Justin.
Yeah.
Yes, you can be Justin. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but thank you so much for coming to the second episode of Still Scrolling. Turns out we are alive. We survived the hellish week that was. And that is no thanks to the impending TikTok ban. One of the many reasons why we started this podcast. But I'm so excited to get started on it because if you didn't hear, there's a brand new app on the streets. I don't know if you heard about it. It's called The Little Red Book or Zhang Shu. Have you guys heard of this Little Red Book?
Never heard of it. Why don't you tell us a little about it?
Well, okay, basically, long story short, it's like Instagram and Pinterest had a baby with the Chinese government, and now it's a brand new app. You're going to look at me and tell me I'm wrong? That's what it is.
I mean, I've never seen it before, so the way you're describing it has me thinking,
That's what it is, right? It's like, and so what's happening is, since TikTok is getting banned, everyone's moving to RedNote, and I have a lot of thoughts about RedNote because it is instead of being like adjacently connected to China, it is literally a Chinese-owned app. The content moderation or censorship is higher over there, but people are flocking to it in droves as a middle finger to the U.S. government, saying, if you don't want them to have my data, I'm going to deliver my data to them on a silver platter. Derek, have you made your RedNote profile yet?
Hell no. I refuse. I refuse.
That's how you really feel.
Yeah, I get it. I get the protest. I get the pettiness and saying like, F you government, like, oh, we can't have Chinese spies. I'm going to have a Chinese spy even harder now, right? Like, I understand that piece. But I'm also not in the business of wasting my damn time. So I just... Yeah, I'm very passionate about this for like no reason really, but I just don't want to spend time on it for the sake of like, sticking it to the man or whatever, when in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm never going to open the app again. I get the protest piece. I really do. But I'll wait it out. I'll see what happens. Maybe I'll eventually make one, but not yet.
They are going to call you a bootlicker in the comments.
They might. They really might. It's also a little bit more just like career informed of a decision because I'm in digital marketing. I'm in that space. So like, I understand that from an audience perspective, from, am I going to reach the people that want to see my content? It's just not going to work for me. It's a primarily Chinese used platform. My audience is literally everywhere else except China. So, I don't see even a fraction, 10%, even 5% of that TikTok user base in the US moving to this app. I just think this is like the headline of the week. So it seems like a lot of people are flocking over there, but they're not really.
Interesting. Stefania, have you talked about this with your little Chinese spy? What do they think about it? More importantly, what do you think about it, Stefania?
Only in the middle of the night do I talk about it with my little Chinese spy, because that's the only time of day I get some clarity.
The time zones, you gotta sync up.
Yeah, exactly. But I have not heard of this platform until today, so I don't really have really much to say about it, nor can I really form an opinion about it. But
interesting,
based off of what like Derek is saying, I mean, knowing me, I'll probably, what I would do, I don't think I would do this, I would make an account and then I would just forget about it after a while, because it probably wouldn't like hit the same, but also it doesn't seem that like great of an investment for me if it's only going to be like Chinese based followers that because like you said, I don't have a lot of followers on that side of the world, right? The majority of them are here or like in Mexico or like some in Europe too, like So I don't really see it as a benefit for me. I mean, I'll look it up to see what it's about, but I don't think I'm gonna be hopping on that wagon anytime soon.
Interesting. Would you be willing to experiment right now and download RedNote on air?
I would actually be willing to do that.
Oh
So
my
let's
gosh!
see it. Let's see it. Have you made an account?
I made an account to see what was going on.
Uh-huh.
It was all in Chinese.
Yeah, I can see that. I can literally see that as I'm looking at it right now.
And I switched it over. I figured it out. I had to watch YouTube videos about how to switch it over to English, and still the content was still with Chinese lettering. And one of the first videos that was served to me in their FYP was, "Hello, TikTok refugee." I was like, "Oh man, you got me. You knew." And he was like, "Oh, here are some handy phrases to know in Chinese before you like walking around and stuff like that." And I was like, "Okay." And then I made an account, and then I realized that like it's not TikTok. It's not it is an FYP system, but less so videos. There's a lot more pictures on there that was on my feed. And it's hard to gauge a complete what it is if I only used it for literally an hour at most when I was trying to set up a profile. Derek, have you downloaded RedNote yet?
I would rather die.
Okay, Stefania.
Damn.
So that's the other piece that I think is getting overlooked too, is that, not to sound super cheesy, TikTok is irreplaceable, right? You can download another app, you can go to a competitor, you can protest, sign up for whatever, but it's not going to be the same. Even aside from just the UI and user experience and all that, the way it's going to serve up content, the way it's going to build community and that kind of deal, like it's just not going to be the same. So like, I know I've been a little bit dramatic and definitive in not wanting to do it. I like genuinely just don't think it's going to be the same either. So, that's really the bigger motivation. Is just there's no point in me signing up for something to replace it when it's not going to replace it. It's just going to be something else.
I think Instagram Reels is really the only other that could compete with TikTok and has been competing with TikTok for a long time now. I mean, I find myself nowadays scrolling more on Reels than I do on TikTok. So. Whoa.
You kidding?
I couldn't hear you for a second. You were like muted.
I was muted. He could not speak. He was too stunned to speak.
He was too stunned to speak.
That is literal blasphemy. We're not okay. Okay. We're gonna keep it real. I love Instagram. I love TikTok more, but we gotta stop acting like Reels is a comparable experience. It's a different experience. But it's, in my mind, they are like apples and oranges, Everything is very aesthetic on my Reels. And then we have like trash can videos on TikTok that are so funny. Like, it is, though.
Yeah.
No, it's very true. It's very true.
Stefania, have you downloaded it on your phone?
Yes.
What do you see?
I see Chinese.
Yes. That means you're in the right spot. But, like, what does it look like? I'm very curious if it's changed.
I mean, on video, this is what I see.
Ooh.
But for people listening, it's just words in Chinese and then log in.
Yeah.
So I have to make an account, though. Can I delete the account?
Yes. This is just an experiment. You do not have to do this on air. Do not feel peer pressure.
China already has your info, so
that's very true. And you know what? Risk. The world might end in a few years, so.
True. And like when the part where it says to input your social security number, I just use Derek's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You want to send that to me? Actually, I'll use his too.
I'll just say it on there. It's like 555-321-9999. So, sorry.
That
Derek.
was way too close to the actual.
What if that
number,
was?
to be honest.
What if that was someone's actual social security? Somebody's going to use that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is slightly random. Please cut this out if this doesn't pertain. But the first three letters of your social security number can tell you where you live, right?
Yeah.
So I did not know that. So
what?
Yes. And so I was applying. I was at a job that's now defunct. There was like this grilled cheese restaurant, and I was I was hired and I was filling out the paperwork, and the guy that was helping me, like the manager, he was like, oh, you seem like a, I'm not going to say it. Oh, you look like a 555 for your security. I was like, what the hell? How did you know? That was weird. I was, and he's like, no, because you said you lived in this place.
If you look at your parents or like your siblings or whatever, especially if you're like years apart, I mean, you and your parents and you should definitely be years apart. The numbers should be slightly different. But it's like only one of the three like bundles of numbers. I think it's the middle number that determines like where you're from or whatever. Like that's the designation.
It's very interesting.
And
actually.
the same with license, with your license, driver's license numbers. At least here in Florida, there's like corresponding bundles of numbers, and I don't remember if it's like address or last name or what, but I remember I spotted the pattern, and then I knew two guys that they have the same first initial and last initial.
Yeah.
So I was like, "What's your?" I like cracked the code basically.
Yeah. Figured out their social security number.
No, their driver's license, the code system behind the driver's license. Yeah.
Interesting. So, Stefania, what number did you place in the box? Just kidding. What is it like over there? What do you see?
So I see the Hi TikTok Refugees video.
Nice.
That guy. It was him.
That guy's blowing up. My guy's hot right now.
This one that says this app might be better than TikTok. Wait, this app kind of slay. Interesting.
The community says it slays. Derek, are you willing to change your mind?
No. Not for now. Not for now. Give me a day. Look, give me until Sunday, when the TikTok ban is supposed to take place.
Oh.
If not Sunday, give me 270 days, which is when the potential extension will end. And then between now and then, I'll figure out if I'm going to download RedNote.
Okay.
I just think TikTok looks prettier than RedNote from first impressions.
Maybe. Okay, so the next time we record this podcast, TikTok may or may not be banned. So, in this final thing for the segment, let's place our bets. Do you think TikTok will be banned? Yes or no, Stefania?
I feel like there's going to be like a last minute kind of like someone's going to buy it last minute. And then we'll have TikTok again.
All right, Derek, by this time next week, will you still have TikTok? Will it be banned?
I don't think it'll be banned. I don't think somebody's going to buy it, though. I think it's going to be this last minute, conveniently, all the politicians that voted to ban it now don't want it banned. So Congress came together to do something, very rarely, like they do once in a blue moon. And they're going to save it. Like, legally, it's not going to be sold.
Interesting. All right. I'm going to say, on the record, I think that the Congress extension that one guy was talking about, I don't think he can work that fast. I think January 19th is the last day. But I think the very next day, I think Trump will do an executive order, or then they'll have time to do it. But I think it will be blacked out by the 19th. That's my guess. So
that's true.
We'll see who wins.
It could be like a 3-hour period.
Yeah,
blacked out.
Maybe a day.
Yeah, exactly. Because apparently part of the law that bans it allows the president to pause the ban.
True.
So it might literally just be like straight from the inauguration to signing that pause paperwork. And then
I don't know if it's that much on the priority list. I feel like you never know.
Do you remember 2016 to 2020 and the priorities?
All right. I guess we're getting political here. I think Donald Trump is posturing that he's going to save TikTok.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he wants to be liked, and whether or not he actually wants to, let it be known that the CEO of TikTok did go to Mar-a-Lago and kiss the ring. I think that he'll give it like a day or two, and then he'll sign the paperwork. Maybe like to make sure that they grovel just a little bit.
Fair enough.
and conveniently have a meeting between him and Elon Musk or Mr. Zuckerberg.
No, I heard actually, or maybe like I read a rumor that Elon Musk was thinking of buying TikTok, or I was like,
Ain't no way.
It was debunked.
Yeah.
TikTok
good.
made it a point to say like that is
Good.
incorrect.
Because I will then refuse to actually use TikTok.
I'll
Give me
download
enough.
RedNote at that point.
Yeah.
He barely had the money to buy Twitter.
That's true.
He
And yet he still
barely
has
had the money.
One interesting piece of advice for our listeners/viewers right now. I did hear, and take this with a grain of salt, that the website TikTok.com will still be accessible in the US. Take that as you will. So if the app
What's
gets
your
banned,
man on the inside? Did your Chinese spy tell you this, Derek?
it was the news. It was the news.
Uh-huh.
And we all know that the news never lies, you know? We all know that headlines and articles and ad revenue from the websites don't impact news. So, it seems legit. So we'll see. We'll see on the 20th, I guess.
So here's the thing. If TikTok.com could still be accessible in the US, let's bring back Vine, guys. Like,
let's bring back Vine.
like, if TikTok.com could still be accessible, where's Vine? Because I miss those videos so much. And I have
Vine was a
videos
good
on there
thing.
that were so good. For 6 seconds of footage, genius stuff I was seeing.
There really was. It was really a different time. I miss that time. I feel nostalgic and warm thinking about that time in my life. But Vine also brought us some of the worst influencers and celebrities and apparently boxers that we've ever seen. So I'm conflicted on that one.
No shade there.
Yeah,
So
because we could bring it back, but at what
Good.
cost? What is it going to cost us? Is
what's that movie where it's like, what does it cost you? Or Infinity
Gamora?
War?
yeah.
That's what it would cost.
Little Gamora.
But anyway, now that we're going to be ex-TikTokers, I suggest we all hit the gym and become boxers because that's how it works.
I literally used to take boxing classes, so I'm already one step ahead. Yeah.
Because I used to take title and then I got bored of it. But that's a whole other podcast.
I did. I was doing title as well, and then it got really expensive.
I did Kempo karate.
Oh, look at us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember it. I'll still get my ass whooped on the streets.
We're all ahead of the game, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, maybe the muscle memory will kick in, when I need it to.
Maybe. That's all you need. Wax on, wax off. But speaking of waxing off, word on the street is that there's some Silver Surfer news. Stefania, have you heard about this? What have you scrolled on this week?
So I've scrolled on a little quote that was said about Silver Surfer's look for the new Fantastic Four movie. Now, for anyone that is wondering who the Silver Surfer will be, it is Julia Garner. She will be playing, once I get the name, where is the name? Because I don't remember it.
It's like Shalla-Bal.
Shalla-Bal.
Yeah,
Shalla-Bal. I'm assuming I pronounced that correctly, but if not, I apologize. So Shalla-Bal is the female love interest of the original Norrin Rad Silver Surfer. And she will be playing the Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four, which is coming out in July of this year, right? July?
True story.
July, yeah. And so what she said, quote, about her look for the movie, she said, it's shiny, but all the Silver Surfers are shiny, so it doesn't give you anything. I'm sorry, so we'll wait and see. I'm excited. So we could take that as, what I would take that as is, if she's saying she's shiny, I feel like she was wearing something, like she has a costume for the Silver Surfer and probably like makeup, obviously like airbrushed paint, whatever. But I think they're gonna do some CGI to her to make her look like reflective, like how the Silver Surfer should be. And they do have some pretty great VFX artists and animators working on this movie. That Ebon Moss, who's playing the Thing, has said that they have a great team working with them. So I also am excited for The Thing because the practical suit that we saw in the little like photos that we got last year looked fantastic. And I know people were commenting like, oh, it looks awful. And in my head, I'm like, well, guys, there's still CGI that has to be done. Like, this is not the final look, obviously. So for anyone thinking it looks horrible, there's still CGI work to be done. And if you're thinking the animators or the VFX artists are going to do a terrible job like you think they've been doing for the last MCU movies, then you have a problem because they've been doing a fantastic job, in my opinion. There have been slight upsets, sure, but in my opinion, overall, the VFX in these movies have been looking pretty good.
Interesting. So I'm excited, but I have a little bit of predictions about what's happening with this female Silver Surfer. Derek, have you made any incel-like comments about how they're race bending or gender bending the Silver Surfer? What did you think about that, Derek?
I don't care. I think yeah. I think if there's an opportunity, for those of you watching, he's being sarcastic. I'm literally always fighting with people on the internet that do make those comments. No, I think if there's an opportunity to have some diversity and switch things up and get a woman or a minority actor involved, then let's do it. I do understand the Silver Surfer does have Norrin Rad, the original Silver Surfer, does have like a fan base, and I understand there's some disappointment there. But I think people ignore the larger scope of the Fantastic Four movie in that it's set in a retro-futuristic 60s and not the main timeline. So I think that there's going to be some sort of a reset after Secret Wars. So I'm not sure that Julia Garner is going to be the Silver Surfer ongoing. And honestly, and the comic book fans might get upset at this, I don't think we need an ongoing Silver Surfer, to be honest. Yeah. Look, it's getting to the point where there's too many characters and it's just not going to be a viable universe anymore, right? So, like, what are we going to do here, guys? Like, what are we doing, right? So, okay, perfect example that I think a lot of people have not considered. There's a reason why Captain Marvel was off planet for Infinity War, right? There's a but in universe, right? There's a reason why in Endgame, Doctor Strange had to like, oh, the river is flooding, and he's just like worried about the river for the whole battle, right? There's a reason why the Hulk got his arm, destroyed, and he just couldn't kind of move after, these characters have to get nerfed in one way or another, and that's just the reality of like the Silver Surfer. We can't have every single badass, super cool, powerful character in Manhattan at the same time, right? Because then how does the climax of that movie, how does that arc resolve in a way that takes more than 10 minutes, right? Like, oh, we're facing Doctor Doom. Okay, well, we've got the Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Mephisto, all these other people that could presumably just make light work of it. And that's not even naming any mutants, right? So, like, they've got to start kind of, like, being a little bit more strategic, and I think the Silver Surfer is one of those characters that they're being strategic with, and they're kind of giving us this one-off. I think we're getting Galactus, right, in the movie. I don't think we're revisiting Galactus or his heralds or anything for some time after the reset, after the Secret Wars.
Interesting. Derek, I couldn't disagree more. I disagree. But mainly, I see where you're coming with the Nerf thing, but I would like us to all bring out our tinfoil hats with me because I have a prediction, right? Here's my guess. I think that there's a reason why the Fantastic Four are in a different universe. I think that there's a difference, or I think there's a reason why they're the only heroes in their universe, right? Because something is not correct, is my guess. Not, and when I correct, I mean like comic accurate, because I have zero problems with a female Silver Surfer. I truly don't. I don't understand why that character even has to be a male in the first place, especially when we had several Heralds of Galactus who are both genders. It seems like a genderless role, to
Yep.
be honest with you. And so I think my prediction is that their world is going to get gobbled up by Galactus, and then they'll be transported or like almost universal refugees to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then whatever happens in Secret Wars will have everyone on the same page, including Hugh Jackman Wolverine and the Foxmen, yada yada, all that. We'll have them all in the universe, and it'll be like they always were there the entire time. And everyone remembers Spider-Man again. And Robert Downey Jr. will be back, and Chris Evans will be back, etc., etc. I think it will happen, but I don't think we're gonna see Julia Garner for the rest of the, I guess, series. Stefania, what do you think about this? Do you think we'll see Julia Garner like beyond this movie?
Well, I think if we're gonna see her, we're gonna see her in possibly Secret Wars. But then after Secret Wars, I know that the timeline is just gonna reset and it's gonna be back to one timeline, and the multiverse is gonna collapse. And I don't know if a lot of people are gonna die. I assume we're not gonna see a lot of these. I would assume
gonna die. I don't think anyone's gonna die. I think everyone's gonna come back.
Well, okay, so hold on. RDJ is going to be Doctor Doom, right? I don't think he is the 616
Well,
universe
actually,
Dr. Doom.
he's gonna be.
Well, actually, in my opinion, I don't think he's the Doctor Doom of the 616 universe, because that would just be ridiculous. I mean, I love RDJ, but I wasn't that excited when he was announced as Doctor Doom, because his ending was so perfect. But there has to be a reason, we'll see to it. But he's not the official. Including Julia Garner as Silver Surfer. I don't think she'd be the official Silver, or if we do see her again, it'd just be Secret Wars and then that's it. But if there's a Silver Surfer in the future, then, or maybe not a Silver Surfer, just another Herald of Galactus, could be anyone. But Secret Wars is just going to reset everything, and we know that after Secret Wars ends, it's going to be all focused on mutants. We're going to have the mutant saga. So we're not really going to see any more of, it's just going to be cameos probably that we'll see of possible Avengers or Young Avengers or Fantastic Four characters, but it's solely going to be focused on mutants. And going off of mutants, the Fox universe is just going to collapse, and we're not going to see those actors or characters anymore. I just think there's going to be a whole reboot, reset of the X-Men.
I think
okay.
So. The genius that was the underappreciated greatness of She-Hulk, I think, was and I don't mean that with sass, I'm being completely serious. It was the proof of concept for what I think the MCU is going to look like post Secret Wars, where all these enhanced people, all these heroes, all these people with powers, villains, not villains, just normal people with powers, they all exist and they're all just living their life, and it is what it is. And then we're going to get the X-Men deep dive. We're going to get their stories. It's going to be a focus on them. They'll be highlighted. And then around them, there are other enhanced individuals. There are superheroes. The Avengers exist. Spider-Man exists. All these heroes exist, but we're not getting stories about them. They just kind of exist within the universe. And I think She-Hulk did that. I think that's what they were going for when they did that, when they made the show. It just got kind of lost in the backlash or whatever you want to call it. I think that's what you're saying, Stefania, is, yeah, they're going to focus on the mutants. And I think not everybody's going to die, but they're definitely taking a back seat because, let's be real, we don't need origin stories anymore, right? We don't need, even solo hero titles anymore like that. Yeah,
What?
I think...
I
disagree.
I think titles. I think there still would be.
I think the future is the ensemble approach. The Fantastic Four, right? Guardians obviously just wrapped up, but the Avengers flicks. I think there's just, it's gonna be hard to just keep giving us origin stories, and then you can remix up that origin format a little bit. Yeah.
Oh my
See, I
gosh,
think it would be
Derek,
way too
disagree.
hard. It'd be way too hard, especially with the X-Men, to do just an ensemble movie. There's so many mutants.
Well,
And
the X-Men is the exception, right? Because they get the
like
focus.
exception.
X.
Hey!
Because they have the focus on them, they're the exception, right? You do get a deep dive on, for the love of God, I hope just not Wolverine, right? Just like other
Yeah,
characters.
same.
Like, give us a Cyclops movie, right?
I don't think Cyclops would be better.
Stefania, go
listen.
home. You're done. Cancel Stefania. If you're listening to, you know what? Actually, Reels viewers, if you're listening to this, I want you to comment. Cancel Stefania if you disagree.
Okay, hear me out. Like, listen, I've grown to like Cyclops. I have, especially after X-Men 97. I think they wrote him in a fantastic way. But if there were to be like a solo project, I don't think it would be a Cyclops solo like titled project. It would probably be like Phoenix and Cyclops, or Cyclops and Phoenix, like something. And I have this thing where I feel like they should do a Disney Plus series of like the couples of the X-Men. So like you have Rogue and Gambit, because they have had successful solo series runs in the Marvel comics.
Mr. and
So
Mrs.
Rogue
X.
and Gambit, Mr. and Mrs. X, yeah, one of my favorite runs of them. And also I think there was a Cyclops and Phoenix storyline back in like the 90s or something. So I don't necessarily see a solo project in the future for Cyclops. If there is something, it would be a Disney Plus show. I just don't think there would be enough to be like a movie. I don't want to see Wolverine project. Please, no, because we've had enough, okay? Enough Wolverine.
Who would you want to see?
The Storm project would be fantastic.
I like
Storm
that.
would have a fantastic solo project. I think there's just so much to her character and her past that is loved and should be told. And she has a great story, and she's a goddess. So
interesting. Okay, Derek, what about you? Which one are you picking? Pick one X-Men for a solo project.
Oh, I like the New Mutants movie, but it wasn't perfect. But I really liked it. I had a good time. I like that horror vibe. I'd want to see something maybe with magic.
good choice.
Especially like with Limbo and kind of the
Anime
possibilities
girl with
there.
the big sword. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then maybe incorporate Colossus in there somehow. Like, there's a lot that can happen. There's a lot that can happen. And there's also a lot that can get lost in the adaptation version of it. So like in a perfect world, yeah, we're getting like magic and Colossus, brother, sister type of movie. But, that might be hard to kind of fit into a solo, like one movie that would get people invested.
I can't believe nobody said Gambit. Bring back Channing Tatum.
Listen, Gambit is a great character. Yeah, I can vouch for that. But for a solo movie, I mean,
wow.
I don't know.
Wow.
A lot of these characters would work so much better in a series than in a movie, because there's so much to their character and so much backstory, especially with Gambit, with the Thieves Guild. Like, there's a lot to unfold there. He would be most successful as a series instead of a movie.
Yeah, I have a real answer. My real answer is Nightcrawler.
Oh, good choice. Very good choice.
I just assumed he was getting one.
Nightcrawler is like one of my favorite.
Like nothing. There is not a scene that beats the infiltration into the White House in X2. In all of X, that is the best fight scene, I think, in that entire franchise. Correct me if I'm wrong, but unbelievable. But I would do Nightcrawler.
I'm not a heavily religious person, but something about a character kind of reconciling their faith with, the hand that they've been dealt.
You mean Daredevil?
Yeah, Daredevil, Nightcrawler. Like, I love those types of characters, and I think it's hard to mess that up if you get the right team in place to write it and get it done. So I'm looking forward to Daredevil for sure. So I think kind of by extension, in a weird way, a Nightcrawler movie would work well.
Interesting. Speaking of working well, Derek, what is your story you're bringing to the table today? What did you scroll on this week?
Well, I scrolled on Andy Muschietti, the director of a few things, but The Flash is kind of his last kind of biggest project. And he said that the Flash movie failed because of simple marketing demographics, right? Women specifically just did not want to watch The Flash because they're not into that character that much.
Interesting. So it's all Stefania's fault, is
It's
what
all
you're
my
Basically.
fault.
Yeah.
The only thing
basically.
I took from that movie is just Supergirl looked fantastic. That's all I took from it.
Oh, she did look fantastic.
She
I
really
loved
did.
her.
Yeah.
I loved her.
Yeah, it's an interesting take from him. And I get it, right? We don't want to, and I say we, like humans, don't like to just kind of admit when you messed up, right? You didn't do your best, or you put out something that wasn't the best. And it's hard to kind of come to terms with that. But I think it's a weird take to be like, yeah, in a male-dominated fandom, the not men were the reason why my project didn't work, especially when there's very clearly a few different reasons why it actually just didn't work, right? The end of the DCEU, people knowing it was already kind of over, not being that invested. Ezra Miller and everything that they've done over the last few years, where at best he's just weird, they're just weird. At worst, they're extremely problematic. That doesn't get people invested. And then the most basic of reasons, in my opinion, is people just did not like Ezra Miller as Barry Allen. Even before the movie came out, they were not fans of Ezra. They preferred, what's his name? Grant Gustin, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a ton of reasons why The Flash didn't work. And none of it had to do with women not wanting to see it.
Interesting. Stefania, how much responsibility do you personally take for the failure of The Flash? What do you think about this story?
Right. I think about the story a lot. It keeps me awake at night too, which is, it takes a toll on you. It really does. But with him saying that, with Andy saying that The Flash was not successful because of women not enjoying it. Women enjoyed The Flash show. Okay? So it's not The Flash that women hate or anybody hates. It's just, Ezra and just the I guess the quality of the movie as well. Because when I saw it, I didn't really find any appeal to, especially some of the CGI work towards the end. It wasn't that interesting to look at. But you can't say that and then not think of, the Flash show that was on for like 7 years or whatever that was successful, that everyone loved. So it's stupid to me. It's finding excuses at that point. You're finding excuses as to why you failed, I guess, as a director to make this what it could have been.
Interesting.
And it's not...
Oh, go ahead, Derek.
It's not that terrible of a movie.
No.
I feel the way I feel about The Flash is the same. Excuse me, not the same. I feel better about the Marvels, right? I enjoyed the Marvels. I had a more fun of a time watching the Marvels than I did Flash. But in terms of like how great those two movies are, right? Neither one of them are masterpieces, but neither one of them deserve the hate that they get, for lack of a better expression. But I lost my train of thought here, actually. I don't know where I was going with this.
You're on the right track, in my opinion, because I think the same as well, because I loved the Marvels. It wasn't like the perfect movie, but it was a fun time. The Flash at some points was a fun time, but in the end, I was okay just watching it once and that's it. I can watch the Marvels a few times more because that was more fun to me.
Yeah, I remember now. So both movies, what they share is that their performance in the box office and critically, and among fans, right? They're all a result or a culmination of the circumstances in which they were released, right? The Marvels was post-strike, 3 characters that arguably aren't everybody's favorite. I know I've got a few friends that are like, yeah, the Miss Marvel show trailer looked cool, but I don't care about watching a teenage girl be a superhero. Like, okay, good. It's not for you. Like, it is what it is. Sure. The Flash, it's not the same exact type of situation, but it did have its own kind of larger context that set it up for failure. It had that uphill battle, and it had the studio paying Tom Cruise to say that it was the greatest movie he's ever seen. Right? James Gunn needed to make that good first impression and say that it was a great movie and all this kind of deal, because they knew they were facing this uphill battle. Whereas the Marvels, I don't think the executives were that invested in how it performed, right? And they kind of, Bob Iger kind of threw them under the bus, and they.
I got called BS on that one, Derek. No, I say that because I think the reason why the Marvels didn't do as well is the truth is Disney Plus is not the launching platform for these characters that we thought it was. Disney Plus doesn't have the cultural saturation needed to launch these characters into the stratosphere. Miss Marvel was a great show. WandaVision was an even better show. It didn't have enough juice. It didn't. Well, at least WandaVision came out first.
Did.
And
I thought it did, at least.
But it came out like literally 7 years ago or something like that. 5 years ago.
Whoa. 5 years ago. Whoa.
Like, that was like, remember when everyone was like, makes me miss TikTok. Prime pandemic talk.
Yeah.
I was like, is Mephisto in WandaVision?
Mephisto was in WandaVision.
Yeah.
Look at
that
this.
was after the year without Marvel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were like jonesing for something Marvel-y. So the juice was there. And then that all straight went into like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And we realized, oh shit, this doesn't matter at all. WandaVision doesn't matter at all.
Oh shit, they're fighting with musical notes.
That was awesome. That part, I can't cap. That was great. That was so creative. But more importantly, since then, I think Disney Plus has lost a lot of muscle in moving the culture as a streaming platform, and that's not Miss Marvel's fault. It's not. And when it comes to the Flash, we all have to address the speedster elephant in the room. Ezra Miller is a super villain. Like, I don't know what the merits of what they didn't or did do, but it looks suspicious as hell.
The charges were dropped. The parents of the child came out and said, like, we're withdrawing everything, whatever.
But
either way,
he was a menace. Yeah. He was like wrecking bars and stuff like that.
He was fighting people.
The fan.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I get why they couldn't recast. I understand like the logistics and like the movie was shot, and Ezra Miller plays 2 parts in this movie, so I understand the logistics of it. But
just scrap the movie.
It's not a Batgirl situation. It's not a Batgirl situation, unfortunately, because Batgirl was a made-for-TV movie that was gonna turn into a movie, but a released in theaters movie, and then they just extra to get that tax break. You can't get that tax break with the Flash, especially with it's like almost like $500,000. And I understand that. And they released it. They did their contractual obligation. They tried their best, and it just didn't work out. Yeah. And I don't think that's Andy Muschietti's fault. It's not his fault that the main character of his movie was doing some villainous stuff.
Yeah.
Allegedly, it's not his fault. It's not his fault that it came out during a strike. It wasn't his fault that like the CGI was half rendered. Maybe that was his fault.
Hold on. That may not have been his fault, but he totally is at fault to blame for trying to defend it.
It's his responsibility. It may not be his fault, but it is his responsibility.
Yeah, because afterwards he's like, oh, it's supposed to be that way because it's, like a dream type of vibe, and it's supposed to look that way because he's kind of in the different, and he had like a list of reasons why artistically that was a choice, when it's like, no man, this is PS2 graphics. This is not an artistic choice. This looks really bad.
Yeah, and it's not his fault that like everyone knew the writing on the wall was like the DCU is done. It was cooked.
Yeah.
The same thing happened with Aquaman 2, which wasn't a terrible movie, but It didn't have the juice. It didn't have the juice of the
Yeah.
DCU because
They kind of were
Directors
just
didn't
like,
have-
we're just gonna put out whatever because it's over anyway. So why do we have to care at this point? No, we got paid and that's it.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. The Flash could have been better. It's not the best movie in the world, but I don't put the blame entirely on Andy Muschietti. But you know who I do put the blame on?
Who?
Marvel Studios. Because I would like to get on my high horse for this very last story. Because back when I was just a wee TikToker, I said they should recast T'Challa. And then everyone was like, no, Justin, like, we have to be respectful. Like, we have to. I was like, no, because number one, T'Challa as a character has died 3 times in this universe, you know? And then even, like, that's not a good thing. And now I would like some not comeuppance, but I would like to cash my check. Because Marvel Studios agrees with me, and they're getting ready to recast Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa in Black Panther 3 that may or may not be starring Denzel Washington, according to sites like The Guardian. So, Derek, would you like to pay me my money and say that I was right all those years ago? But what do you think, Derek?
I think at the time, in the moment, I don't care what Chadwick Boseman's brother said, and I don't care, like, you know, what the kind of, you know, reasoning for recasting him was from like the emotional standpoint. I don't think it was the right choice at the time, right? Because the movie was already in pre-production. It was already kind of getting going. I didn't like that choice. And people gave the example of like, well, they recast Thunderbolt Ross and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you know, that's not the same. You know, that's not a good comparison to make. But now that we got Wakanda Forever, we got the resolution there, we got to say goodbye to Chadwick, we got to see his son, T'Challa Jr., right? There's different, and then now that we're going into Secret Wars, knowing that, you know, we're essentially rebooting everything, it makes sense now to recast. I think it makes sense now to say, like, yeah, this is a character that should continue to live on in some form. There's no way we can wait 10, 20 years for this child to, in canon, be old enough to take up the mantle, right? Because I'd hate to see an 18-year-old Black Panther. No, like, I want to see a grown man full on in action being Black Panther. So I think it's a good choice. I would love it, and I think it's Aldous Hodge as he's like the forerunner. Maybe he's just like a very popular fan cast.
I think that's just the internet.
Yeah, that might just be the internet.
Hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I like it though. I think the time's right now compared to a couple years ago, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Stefania, will you be auditioning for the role of Black Panther?
I think that role.
Oh,
I think that role already goes to Ryan Gosling, doesn't it?
Oh, cancel the podcast. Cancel.
well, hold on.
Oh,
I just came up on my
God.
feed now. Industry Insider Schneider says that Robert Downey Jr. has been cast to play T'Challa.
I knew
Yeah.
Oh my god! I should have
knew
known.
it.
No,
Stefania,
actually,
what do you actually think?
They actually, you know, the Ryan Gosling meme
yeah.
My
of him
gosh.
as Black Panther, they
Yeah.
took that. So Marvel Rivals, the video game, came out, and almost immediately people
Oh.
started
I
modding it, and they did Black Panther, but as Ryan Gosling
saw that.
in the game. And it's like one of those things where it's like, this is so beautiful, but what it represents is so ugly and gross from some people, but it's like hilarious at the same time. So it's a tough meme that's been going around, but it was really funny for sure.
Yeah. I saw that the other day. Now they're actually getting rid of mods or trying to.
Yeah.
So, but I have to agree with Derek. At the time when Wakanda Forever was in pre-production, obviously I would not have recasted T'Challa either because T'Challa, Black Panther, even Chadwick Boseman meant a lot to people. And just who he embodied and like his persona and all. And he was fighting a battle nobody knew about. And he just kept going, right? With a smile on his face.
Yeah.
So I would hate to recast somebody because he was perfect as Black Panther. But Wakanda Forever gave us the opportunity to say goodbye to Chadwick, and there still is the mantle of Black Panther that needs to be filled. Unfortunately, we can't leave that open for the foreseeable future of the MCU, because Black Panther is still, the embodiment of Black Panther is still such an important figure for a lot of people. So I loved that his child is named T'Challa Jr. I was, when that happened, I was like, oh, we're going to get a T'Challa again. It won't be the original T'Challa, but we're going to get like an offspring of him. But obviously he can't age, in 2 years, 3 years, whatever, to like 20, 25 years old, whatever. So I am excited to see where they go forward with this casting for Black Panther. I would love to see Black Panther again on the screen. Most importantly, I would love, if it means we're getting a Black Panther again, I would love to see the romance of Black Panther and Storm, because that's something that's very, very interesting and not a lot of people, and at least like people that only follow the MCU, know of. But Storm and Black Panther were together, and it was quite a time that I hope we do get to explore in the future.
Interesting. I would like to get on my high horse for this segment. As the Black person in the room, I would like to express my privilege, Black privilege.
You know what? That was an awful lot of talking from two white people about Black Panther with a Black guy in the room. I'm so sorry.
No, I agree with most of your points, actually. But the problem was Chadwick Boseman the perfect Black Panther? Yes, right? He was. But our parasocial relationship with Chadwick Boseman does not supersede the needs of the universe. There's a great book called The MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, about how like all the behind the scenes actions. I love that book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It talks about how Chadwick Boseman, Brie Larson, and Tom Holland were sitting around the set of Endgame, and they're like, wow, it's us next, isn't it? We're the big three next. And then Chadwick Boseman passed away. Brie Larson has a hate campaign against her every single day. Mm-hmm. And Spider-Man's owned by a different studio. The situation that we're in as comic book viewers is not ideal to leave this spot vacant, right? And to me, you honor Black characters by not hanging them on a shelf to never be touched again. I don't want like them to be like a jersey in like your favorite stadium. I don't want that. I want these characters to live beyond us. Why do Black people have our characters have to suffer the fate of realism in real life when Superman can get recast? Batman can. We got 3 different Batmans. We're gonna have 2 different Flashes played by the same guy, but we can't get another Black Panther? Are you kidding me? We have to wait 7 to 10 business years for the T'Challa Jr. to like grow up. Are you kidding me? No, I'm done. Let us tap into the magical, fantastical. It's fine. I have the same opinion about Carrie Fisher. I think Princess Leia should have been recast because what we got with Rise of Skywalker was not okay. It wasn't okay. There are plenty of great female actors and actresses that could have played that part, and there are plenty of Black men, or if Shuri unfortunately passes away, Black women that could be the next Black Panther and let us live in the legacy that Chadwick Boseman paved for us instead of just having him on a shelf like Stefania's action figures in the background. You know what I mean? Never to be touched again. You know, I am I selfish for that? Let me know if I'm wrong, guys.
No, definitely not. Absolutely not. No. Now, I have a question, though. So we're getting Chadwick Boseman back as the Black Panther. What does that mean for Shuri, though?
Wait, we are getting Chadwick Boseman? You raised him from the dead?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, my God.
I meant to jump.
We did it, chat.
We've accomplished so much.
I'm sorry, my mutant power is just exposed. I can actually raise the dead. No, that I meant to say T'Challa, but Chadwick Boseman is just on the tip of my tongue. But so we're getting T'Challa back as Black Panther. What does that mean for Shuri? Like she's a current Black Panther.
Here's the thing. There's comic precedent for more than one Black Panther at the time. I made a video a couple years ago, back when this all went down, and I said Shuri should not be the next Black Panther. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out, okay? Is because, and the second Black Panther movie agreed with me in that the title of Black Panther and ruler of Wakanda should always be separated. Always. We are not sending Joe Biden to the front lines. What are you doing? No, don't say Joe Biden. No, that's a terrible idea.
Why not?
Because he's going to fall over and go to sleep before the mission's completed. I love you, Joe. I love you. But still, like, come on.
He's going to give him a stern talking to, point his finger, and fall asleep.
You know what? Give Joe Biden the heart-shaped herb, see what happens. But anyway. You know what I'm saying? Don't let your ruler of your country be in the front line. So I thought I said in the video a long time ago that, like, maybe if Shuri was the ruler of Wakanda and then Okoye was the Black Panther, I think that's a great, like, I love Okoye as the Black Panther. She's smart, capable. Don't put her in a blue Iron Man suit. What are you doing? But that's the point. But in Black Panther 2, M'Baku becomes the ruler of Wakanda, and Shuri is a free agent to be a Black Panther, which means she can, like, conveniently go to the Avengers, if you know what I mean, you know? And I'm okay with that. Especially, like, and so if there is another Black Panther, we have an Avengers Black Panther. Shuri goes to the Avengers. We have a free agent Black Panther that can have the movies and stuff. And then you have a separate ruler of Wakanda. I'm okay with having the Black Panther team. That's fine with me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I love it.
Yeah, I find it to work. As long as, like, in canon, there can be 2 Black Panthers allowed at one time.
There's, like, official, like, TM Black Panther, and then there's the guy who took up the mantle as roaming the streets of New York Black Panther. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know.
I think there's a lot on the table when you start to kind of dive into some of the themes of Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. The idea that, like, they shouldn't hoard the power and they shouldn't keep it and they should actually form alliances and do this outreach and this kind of stuff. And then, not to mention that Killmonger destroyed all the herbs and then they had to try and recreate it somehow. So now there is the potential to actually genetically engineer people. And that kind of does fall into, like, super soldier territory a little bit, which is kind of for me. But with the idea of, like, hey, Shuri can do this and she's the only person that can do it, she's going to just kind of retire and still keep the powers, but she'll pass it on. But what calls her out of retirement, right? What brings her back into the fold? So I think there's ways to do it where it doesn't kind of stomp on the idea that there can only be one. But
I don't think she even has to retire. She can just be, I think the Avengers need a Black Panther.
She could just be a scientist first, but when it's time to throw down, she'll throw down, and, you know, she'll go fight. Yeah,
for
sure.
Story. Mm-hmm. But I think that's where I'll be submitting my Black Panther audition. I don't know about you guys, but I think that wraps up everything for our topics. How do you guys feel about the second episode of Still Scrolling? Do you have anything to look forward to the next week besides our predictions on TikTok?
I'm honestly just losing sleep at night over the TikTok situation, to be honest, you know?
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing can go wrong at all by just completely banning 180 users from accessing something that they've used every day for the past 5 years, you know?
Just
180 users? Just 180.
What did I say? 180 million. Sorry.
Gotta add that part. But if they can't find you, where can they find you? Let the people know. Stefania, where can the people find you?
People can find me, or aliens, you know, because that's cool too. You can find me on Instagram at Stefania_Sassano and on TikTok for the moment at Stefania Sassano. So when this airs tomorrow, which where we record the day before it airs, but when this airs on Wednesday, TikTok will still hopefully be alive, and then we'll see what happens next week. That's where you can find me.
Derek, where can the people find you?
It's same Instagram nerd.speech and TikTok for now, nerd speech altogether.
Great. And you can find me at Freddy's Roommate wherever toys are sold. That's TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, whatchamacallits, and I guess RedNote. But that's the point. And you can follow Still Scrolling where all those same places too. We will see you guys next week. And goodbye.